You heard it now. Thank you very much, Roxa. Good luck on tomorrow. And take it away, Sjokz.
Thank you very much, Law.
Ole.
You know what? I'm not going to introduce nothing. Ocelote, just go. What's your reply?
Well, I brought my Red Bull with me.
Okay.
That's more than enough.
What about what you have on your head? Can you explain that?
Oh, that's... I actually forgot about the name of the god, but it was supposed to represent a
Can you
Greek
turn
god.
your head?
Caesar?
Let me show you. Is that...
Caesar?
Caesar? That's
He
Roman.
said a
man.
Greek guy.
Oh,
That's Roman.
Greek guy.
Yeah, we don't have a scar, so I had to add something on top. It's a kind of accessory, you know?
Yeah, I am a bit disappointed in the reply. I mean, he just eviscerated you verbally.
Honestly, like, you know, I like to talk a lot of fuego
On Twitter?
on Twitter or otherwise, anywhere, you know. I like to have a lot of fun, but I really, truly respect Fnatic and I respect Broxa. That doesn't take away the fact that I trust my team more than I would trust Fnatic team. I just generally believe that we have the better team and tomorrow they'll show up.
All right, let's talk about the series we saw today. Just a couple of minutes before, we saw Reckless going to his family. Now, Broxa, of course, giving them a couple of hugs. They will be happy that he was able to win today. And, well, a dominant win it was, Deficio. And it was over fast. What do you say about a series like that that was very, very one-sided? Where did Schalke drop the ball, and then why was Fnatic so strong?
I mean, so game one, obviously, Dylan Falco also admitted it was kind of a bad plan.
Yeah.
And then I think level one, both games, you just kind of felt like, after that level one, you're already down a game and 2 games in the next one. It just felt almost impossible. We actually, against G2, in the winners match in spring, had the same way. We lost the first game, and then we got killed level one this next game, and then we got killed level one again the next game. That's when your mental just breaks. Like the moment you die level one again and you're already down the series, it's just over. So I feel like it was really hard for Schalke after level ones.
Yeah, what was your expert opinion, Ocelote, on why Schalke lost?
No, he was just talking as if Origin had any chance to win back then. That's why I was laughing.
I don't know, game one, we almost won. Let's
Okay, Yamato,
give us that one.
you can give us the analysis then. And I'm going to ask you this question in light of Schalke still playing for Worlds and in the regional qualifier next week. What do they have to work on coming into next week?
I think it's hard to choose because they have clear strengths, but I think Fnatic just outshines them at every point. I think coming into this third game, they did make good adjustments. I didn't think Fnatic's composition had a lot to bring to the table at the later parts of the game, but they were just better macro-wise, better at positioning, got the picks that they needed, and eventually got the Nashor.
Stylistically, though, the teams in the Gauntlet look different than Fnatic. We've got Splice and OG so far.
Yeah, they look better.
Well, the question is, how is OG looking right now?
Nobody
give
knows.
us some
Nobody
insight, you know?
No
It's
one knows.
a lot of time. Everyone always asks this question, like, oh, Origin could always be so good, because I saw it myself when we were practicing against them during the regular split. So I think it depends on which kind of Origin shows up. It will be between Origin and Schalke, I feel.
And
I agree.
Well, can you answer the question as to stylistically how Schalke matches up against the Gauntlet teams better than they do against Fnatic?
To be fair, I don't think Schalke need to change anything just because you couldn't beat Fnatic, right? Like, they won the same way all split long. That's how they got to top 3.
Yep.
So I don't feel like you go in and like make a ton of changes on their side. Obviously, there is a lot of footage from playoffs now. If you are playing in Schalke, you have so many games you can look at, both wins and losses. And you can kind of identify very quickly what they're actually succeeding on and what they're failing on.
Something I would like to add is very important coming into Gauntlet is, just the point that you raised, that it shouldn't change so much, because after a series like this, I saw when the players walked off stage, they looked quite destroyed. If you are willing to put yourself in a position where you stop believing in everything that you built up through the entire split, that spells disaster coming into these best of fives that they need to play.
And it happens most of all in the Gauntlet. We always know this, that at the end of the year, because it's the only chance, it's the last chance for those teams to get to Worlds, and often we see an implosion of what worked for them before. Often, Deficio, we see teams that we expected so much from, that played so well before, that then step into that Gauntlet and
I know.
choke.
G2 did the same last year.
Yeah,
No, they ran the Gauntlet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, yeah, they didn't choke.
No, oh, you mean, okay, so, okay, so you actually praising us, saying we were favorites going in, then we would choke, okay, I'll take that as well.
Actually, G2 crashed and burned before.
They did.
They did.
It was like
did.
0-3 against Misfits. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was
But
bad.
then the guys,
Yeah, everything is possible. What do you think about Grabs getting coach of the split?
I think it's very deserved. Like, the guy works really hard, and I feel like there's like different types of coaches, you know. There's like, you know, the coach that focuses more on, you know, the technical aspects of a game, which I think would fit more a weaker sort of lineup. I think that for a lineup like this, he's the perfect coach in the sense of he knows how to, you know, deal with them. It's kind of like, imagine Guardiola, you know, Barcelona, you know, back in the days when they had Xavi and all the good soccer players. You know, he didn't have to do much except making sure the team doesn't implode and making sure that there is incredible levels of you know, perform.
I like how you mentioned actually the football trainer who's the most strategic-minded ever.
Listen, I'm not finished.
Real Madrid fan.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. And then I have to go back and tell, I'm sorry, coach. I'm sorry, coach. No, but the truth is that the amount of work they put in, you know, plus Daffman and the whole coaching staff, you know, Mitch as well, literally everybody, is very well deserved. And I wouldn't just say Grabs. I would say the whole support staff. You know, Grabs gets, you know, the highlight, of course. But it's the whole support staff.
Yeah, it is.
It must also be pretty hard sometimes that your players will literally want to play 20 different champions.
Yeah.
And you have to decide with the player.
Like managing that is so
Like, there's
so
a lot
hard.
of things happening.
I see that first person, you know, and it's so incredible. I would go crazy.
It just gets even more difficult. We'll talk more about G2 and G2 versus Fnatic in just a bit. Finally, on this series, the key up player of the series was Broxa with 48% of the votes. We were thinking maybe he doesn't deserve it because he tried to 1v1 that Sejuani in game 2, and that was like but anyway, he did really, really well. He's also turned into a car apparently, so that's great. Just kidding, it is of course the key up player of the series. Broxa, who to me was very resilient in the interview. We had a lot of question marks about the mental state of Fnatic, and especially Broxa, who said that the loss last week hurt him a lot, Carlos. So I know there was a bit of banter here and forth, but what do you think is going to happen in that series tomorrow?
Yeah, Broxa, it feels like is a catalyzer for when Fnatic does very well, and his listening is proven to be, you know, really good as well. I don't know as much about the game, so I can't tell you that much about in-game, but I can see what I can see, and he's very, very active sometimes. However, I think that Jankos, like in my opinion, I don't know how it's going to end up, but in my opinion, will be the MVP of the split. He is just, you know, I think he's just superior, and in a normal day, in a normal BO5, I think everything should come together in our favor. But yeah.
When if you look back on it now, it went all the way to 5 games, you know, and going into that series, the expectation was that G2 would set aside Fnatic, I wouldn't say quite easy, but easier than a reverse sweep and a full 5 games. And now Fnatic comes out of today, completely sweeps Schalke no fear, has a lot of confidence, as we just heard from Broxa Deficio. So does that change your expectations about tomorrow's matchup?
Well, the hardest thing about tomorrow's matchup, and actually the hardest thing about the game Fnatic already played against G2, was how bad G2 played in the first 2 games, especially mechanically. I don't think I've seen that from G2. There was definitely not the team we saw in, you know, peak summer split regular season. And I think if they come in tomorrow, having focused a little bit more maybe on actually getting ready for the series, like individually as well, so they are actually on form from the start.
Wonder was killing it in World of Warcraft. I just saw it.
We heard
was.
that.
I
Again today,
yeah,
apparently.
he's farming with the mage. He's just killing it.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's ready.
There is a chance we get
He's
the
ready.
same start to the
I'm
series.
just saying, in the PGL before G2 played, it was brought up. No, Odoamne
Yeah,
actually.
he brought it up already.
What do you call that? A tattletale? He told everyone that Wonder was so high level in WoW, and then the next day they don't do well, and then it becomes a whole meme, and then they find a PC here on which he can play Carlos. I mean, come on. What's going on there?
No, you know, what can you say until it stops working? I guess. No, but
Almost 2 games and a half. You were like 1 minute away from losing that
Come on,
series.
let's not exaggerate. It was I was literally at home. I was losing my mind actually. But the moment I saw that they couldn't finish with 4K ahead, I remember I was with Jamie, who worked with me for 4 years, and I was like, yeah, this is reverse sweep. So, I mean, you know, confidence when it comes into these games can be a problem, and like overconfidence, right? But these guys are like really, really good at crunch time, and when it really matters, they deliver. They were 0-2 behind, and I guess, you know, they thought it was time to turn on.
And ban TF.
Well,
Ban TF and
that's probably a no-brainer.
to be fair, that third game, I feel like Wunder's Kled was what turned it around.
Oh yeah,
maybe,
it was like 9-3 or
maybe
10-3
playing mage maybe helps us in some kind of regard. But I also wanted to point out, in terms of the first 2 games, I think the strategy, they wanted to try to deal with the TF with the Shen, the Morgana, Zaya to counter the cards. Didn't work. They tried to counter the Yumi. Didn't work with the Mordekaiser, the TP on top. But this was... I saw it the first time some days ago, and I was like, oof, it was a rough one.
Was it a misplay, or did it just not work, Yamato? Both.
Didn't work, both. Yes.
It didn't work.
¿Por qué no los dos? Okay, well, it is a dream final tomorrow. And I always get some tweets from people saying, well, wouldn't it be my team? But that would also be a dream final. But if you look at the legacy of Europe, yes, I said the word, the legacy and the history in Europe and the titles and the most titles between them, then G2 versus this Fnatic is just, even though you say I don't know that much about the game, Carlos, you realize how hype it is.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, you know, even from when I was playing in SK Gaming back in the day, you know, that rivalry built up, and then I built G2, and then, you know, that kind of translates over, and then it's like the most legendary organizations in League of Legends in Europe battling against each other. Like, I know playing the final against Schalke would have been potentially easier, right? I acknowledge that, but every time I get asked, who would you face, rather, I will say just Fnatic, because, you know, that's, even if we lose, like, I just go hide in a cave for like 2 weeks, you know, if we, I hope we don't, but I just gotta hide in a cave for 2 weeks. And if we win, there's a lot of memes, you know, it's a banger. You know?
What's the philosophy of your whole team? Because you go all in on banter all the time, but I've also, I mean, seeing that you guys sometimes lose games, and you're still as heavy on in the banter, right? It's like you don't care either way.
I mean, people are recreationally outraged at everything, so I just don't care. You know, we have the heart in the right place, like I like to say. We just have fun, and you know, sometimes, you know, we miss the mark. We may or may have not missed the mark at some point. That's okay, you know.
Thank you for the Garen game.
We may or may have not missed the mark at some point.
Thank you for the Garen game.
But the idea is always, you know, to entertain, to have a good time, and hopefully we win, because otherwise I gotta hit my cave for a couple of weeks.
Hit your cave. Maybe you'll get a tweet from Reckless then after what you sent his way last week.
Yeah, I don't even know if he. I mean, he doesn't follow anybody. I mean, I'm sure they told him.
I'm sure someone told him.
I'm sure they told him. Yeah, but that's the mental edge. But what happens if they're 2-0 tomorrow? And here it comes again. It comes the .reckless retweet, you know, and it comes in his mind, you know.
He will go and retweet already at 2-0.
He's planting seeds.
Mental warfare.
Exactly.
Does that phase these players at that level, you think? I know of some players.
That Carlos tweeted him, no.
No, not Carlos.
It
would be better if Origin.
No, but honestly, because I know of players that do actively not turn off their social media, but do not look at it before or after a match because they know it affects them and stuff like that. Is it part of the game? What's it with your players? Do they not check Twitter before or after? Or?
No, they don't care.
Okay, they're unfazed.
Same thing with like Reddit and so on. I think most of them don't even read that stuff anymore. I think people have now learned you don't have to actually go and read these kind of things. Sometimes I think for fun they do, not just about them, but about everyone else as well.
Oh, okay. So they don't want to read it about themselves, so they're going to laugh.
No, but they can also laugh about
at
themselves, but they can also laugh at other things. Like, you know, I think they just have more fun with it now, and I don't think they care too much about like what's happening on Twitter. And
honestly, I generally believe the mentality is changing, and you know, all the play. I mean, if I would tell you the amount of pro players coming PMing me saying, yeah, that was really funny and blah blah. You know, it's just that, you know, they will never show it publicly because people are gonna be like, you know, what are you saying? So yeah, it is an outreach culture. You gotta deal with that.
I think it's dangerous.
The hero we need.
I don't want any players to read anything because it subconsciously affects you.
Yeah.
Either if you want to think that it doesn't, it is in your mind. It's just free real estate.
It's just whatever he says with that deep voice. You just believe it. You just believe it.
Crazy.
I'd love to be a player of yours.
No matter how much they read on the internet, I think though, bringing it back to G2 versus Fnatic tomorrow, the fact that they answered that question of how will they step on stage here after that reverse sweep so resoundingly makes me think that we're in for a very, very good best of 5. It can almost not get better from a spectator viewpoint than be a reverse sweep, but I believe you have a 3-2 prediction, or someone on the crew does. What was your initial thoughts? And after this series, how would you predict the series?
So tomorrow's series?
Yes, after what you've seen today, sorry.
That's again the hard thing. I don't think it changes too much in my mind.
So what was it for you?
Like I think with like G2 versus Fnatic, I think you do just take a complete like step up. You know, when you play against G2 compared to Schalke or Splice Origin or whatever. So even if you can 3-0 someone, it doesn't mean you necessarily have an edge suddenly going into that game. I think it's good for confidence for Fnatic, obviously. But I think knowing the G2 players, they've probably been sitting backstage, chilling, laughing, feeling really good, you know, going into tomorrow's game anyway, no matter what happened today. I don't think they saw anything that makes them super scared or anything. So I just hope, like, I want Fnatic to win game 1. That's what I really want, because then we start getting like the whole same story as last week, potentially get a 2-0 there, and I don't mind then G2 coming back. I don't actually care who wins the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely want Fnatic to win game 1.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm being naive in thinking they were so close. Why can't
they
they
were.
just do it?
On my end, for 2 reasons, I think G2 is going to 3-0.
Whoa.
What?
First reason is because
like this guy.
last split against Origin, the first best of 5 they played, they looked very sloppy too in comparison to what they brought on the big stage.
It was still
Because-
3-0, right? The first one?
Yeah, it was
a
still
sloppy
3-0.
sloppy
But it was
3-0.
very,
It's
very
a long
sloppy.
3-0.
You fell behind, and OG had the wrong strategy with putting Nuktak on Lissandra 3 games. It was quite a disaster from two sides.
They
I
needed to
felt.
deliver 1 stuff.
Then
no.
the second best of 5 looked much prettier because I felt like on every side of the coin, G2 really figured out OG. And looking at the best of 5 series that we saw previously that went to 5 games between Fnatic and G2, I feel like they figured out the puzzle. And the biggest question mark for me is, how are they really going to deal with the Yuumi, TF, and Aatrox ban? Because that was a disaster for Fnatic. They were blind picking Shen, and then the last game, Whippo was playing Akali with Elise, and what were they playing mid? I don't remember. It
in
was
fact,
just
Kassadin mid.
messy.
In fact,
Kassadin
three of the picks they made in that last game, the Kassadin mid, the Akali top, and the Braum for Hilly, was the first time that these players have picked that even this split.
Oh.
Just showing, you know, that whole thing about the champion, the champion pool depth does come back when it comes all the way to 5 games. Maybe they find themselves in trouble, and G2 will never find them in trouble.
What I would say is that Kassadin pick, honestly, even if they lost, I respect it because it traumatized me. The moment I saw the Kassadin pick game 5, I was like, oh no, is this happening again?
Okay, so could you, because there's younger viewers watching that don't know what you're talking
Wow.
about.
No, you know what you're right about?
should
It's
explain the whole
most
thing,
of my
actually.
fans already have children. Like,
Yeah.
that's how old I am, you know?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Okay, final words then as we move on. Predictions from everyone. You said 3-0, so unless you want to add anything, I think we'll stick to that.
No, I just want to add, I'm not saying it because this guy's here.
We're sure, right? We're sure you stand on your own feet.
No.
Yeah, Carlos.
I mean, I'm very, you know, I get it, I get it.
Carlos, nothing else.
G2 wins Worlds. There you go.
Perfect.
That's my...
That I don't
They're
believe.
winning tomorrow, apparently.
have no idea what you're
3-1. 3-1 G2. Fnatic win game 1.
Fnatic win game 1 and a 3-1 for the G2. Whatever it may be, it'll be one for the ages. Is there anything else you want to say to your opponent for tomorrow before we sign off?
At Reckless.
At Reckless, right. Well, be sure to tune in for the LCS regional qualifiers. They're in their gauntlet as well at 9:45 p.m. This is now the second best of 5 there before we start our rebroadcast of the semifinal. That was all here from us in our first day in Athens. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow for the epic showdown between G2 and Fnatic. See you then. Apparently we're flexing. Okay.
Kalispera Atina! Athens, I present to you your semi-finalists, Schalke versus Fnatic!
But now Reckless in the midst of the team. Odoamne on the backside. It's going to be a big Aatrox fight. Can Odoamne find it? Reckless is taking down Ignor. Proxen now on the retreat. Odoamne can't get anything. He does manage to get a bit of a heal up, but it's not enough. It's a double kill for Reckless. Has to debate. Where does the CC go? Upset though. Might just find the damage. That's the shutdown. He's so incredibly low. Reckless hasn't even entered the fight yet. Trick just gets deleted. The Xayah does so much damage with Schalke. That's all she wrote. In game 1, Fnatic show up and they smash the competition.
The Karma pick is only really good when their bot lane is doing really good in the game or ahead. And because of some draft errors and play errors, their bot was very strong. So I think in this game it'll be better.
Well, the fight could be massive. Hook is going to go in, is going to connect with Ignor. Abadagi now coming over the wall. Fnatic have they bitten off more than they can do. They set their eyes on Trick, but he flashes out to safety. Proxen goes in. First blood, the Sonic Wave, but Abadagi now caught in the midst of the Fnatic beat grinder once again. Just nothing they can do. They must make the play. Trick goes in. Hillsang once again caught out, but he's going to dash out to safety. The Ezreal ulti does so much damage. Whippo, that was huge. Fnatic are here to dominate. They are not shaken from their series versus G2, and they will move up to match point in the semifinal.
On top of being able to get some plates, they now have their eyes set on mid.
Fnatic trying to match the play, trying to look for a little bit more. The flash out too. Brox is too clean. He carries are still alive, they're still untouched. Whippo goes in, he's trying to save the day. He does so much damage. The resets are there for the pike, and it does not matter how hard you scale. Fnatic will out execute. They sweep aside Sjokz, no fear, and they say G2, we are coming.